Today is a great day. I'm gonna be showing you 25 things you might not know you could do in Planet Coaster 2. And there's really no limits to this, as we will be talking about most aspects of the game. From programming flat rides and sequences, to triggered effects you didn't know you could do, and pathing tools you would have probably forgotten that you had. This video is jam-packed with lesser known features that are present in the game and tools you might have forgotten about that make you think like, oh, I forgot we had that feature. If only you knew the things you could do in Planet Coaster 2. Let's learn about it, so let's jump in the video. Woohoo! If you are an experienced builder, you probably know some of these, but if you're not and you're just new to the game, I think you will learn a lot from this. Alright, for the first one I'm going to show you how to remove terrain using auto-tunneling from certain rides. Let's say I've got a little nice ball of water or mountain lake and I want to create a waterfall coming down from it. However, the terrain that surrounds the waterfall cannot be removed because the water needs to be contained within this certain terrain. There is a way to remove this terrain so that the water goes straight to the edge of the cliff or whatever, and then the waterfall starts. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You want to grab one of the rides, doesn't matter which one, as long as it has tunneling. And in this case I'm just going to use this one. I'm just going to rotate it and make sure that it lines up where I want it to, where the terrain I want to be removed. So if I'm building straight here now, I'm going to remove the terrain that's straight ahead of it. I'm making sure that it goes straight through the terrain, and then in settings here I want to make sure that auto tunneling is turned on. And then all you do is you just build here, and as you can see now, when I remove the ride, you see the terrain is being removed and the water is stopping right there. So now I can turn this into a waterfall. Alright, for the next one we're going to talk about sequencers, and sequencers can continue or play things on interval. And here I'll show you an example. This is the Kona coffee shop I made in my park, and as you can see on the left side you've got the steam ejector that constantly ejects steam, and in the middle you see steam coming out on intervals. You don't have to have it attached to a ride to trigger it or anything. All you do is simply you go to your event sequencer. Then you edit all the items in that you want to trigger. In this case, this is the steam. And then I've got the stereo, which is a little sound effect that makes steam sound. Then you go to settings, and then you go to self-activation. You make sure you press continuous. Let's say I want to play it every 8 seconds, which is in this case the case. You simply add a stereo without sound effect, and then you add it in too. So it starts playing, it plays here, so it plays the steam, and then it does nothing for 8 seconds, and then it finishes playing the stereo, which makes no sound, which is an empty trigger, and then it resets because it's a continuous. That way you can say, let's say I wanted to play every 6 seconds, I just put it here, now it plays every 6 seconds. It's just, you look at the end of the bar, if I wanted to play it every 10 seconds, that's fine, I put it here, and now after 10 seconds it resets because it's a continuous playing, and it plays again. That's kind of how I do my continuous intervals, or my continuous playing of triggers, and it's definitely something that you can make your park come more alive by having triggers go off constantly. Alright, on this one, this is about attaching blueprints to moving pieces. Not everyone knows that you can actually do that. It's a bit fiddly, but it's definitely possible. I'm just going to pause the game. I make sure that I select the item, make sure that it's all grouped. Then you press duplicate, and you have to make sure that add to building is on. The other thing that you have to be sure on PC, I'm not sure how this works on console, is that you're in the right camera mode. In this case, you want to be on the camera mode with the camera with the cross through it. So this one. And then it's really weird because it doesn't work on other camera modes, but you select the item, you make sure you duplicate it. So simply by moving it around, you won't be able to do it, you have to duplicate it. And if you're in the right camera mode and you've got add to building, you can select the moving platform, and it will simply attach itself to it. You left click and you place it down. Now when I unpause the game, I have my coffee mug with steam attached to the moving platform, and I can do whatever I want with it. Yeah, it's really handy, and that makes sure that you don't have to recreate your entire coffee mug on a movement piece. Alright, the next one might be really basic for a lot of people, but there's some people that I found out that don't know about this one. I was talking to one of my community members in the past, and I showed them how to work out something in particular, and they didn't know that this was possible. So you go to edit trigger sequence, and here I've got my nice plunger, is what we call it in New Zealand, attached to a sequencer, and when I press play, the plunger comes down and presses the grinds and separates it from the coffee. Now there's an easy way to duplicate this movement. So all you have to do is, if you press the vertical moving piece, in this case the plunger, there's this button here that will simply duplicate it, and that way you don't have to constantly go to add objects, select the object, confirm, add object, select the object, confirm, to be able to get all these items. You can simply click on it and then click the duplication button, and then you can just put it down. Alright, the next one is rather simple and straightforward, but some people might not know this. When you place two walls exactly on top of each other, in this case I've got a normal wall, and then I've got a slightly redder wall in between. You see this incredibly annoying, frustrating flickering happening. The way to resolve that is by selecting the wall and then simply just dragging it out just by 1 pixel. That stops the flickering. Now here's another wall. It's the one here. You simply select it and you drag it out by 1 pixel, and that will stop the flickering of the wall. This is all attached to the same grid. So now I don't work with loose walls like I have here. The way that to do it is you select the wall that's flickering, you go edit building, you select the piece that's causing the flickering, you press this button, split object from building, that isolates the object. Now if you press X on your keyboard, you open advanced move, and you can again move it by 1 pixel to be able to stop it from flickering. This tip is about making easy circles. Here I've made an easy circle. Well, not that easy, because I had to individually place down each piece and turn it into this nice looking circle. However, there's a much easier and faster way to do this. You go to scenery, make sure that you place down a moving rotational piece. You can also use either of these pieces, but I'm using the rotational piece here. Make sure that it's deactivated, and then when you click on it, you attach scenery, and then you go to, let's say I'm going to make the same wall, which is this piece, as you can see. I'll go to the settings here, symmetry, and under symmetry type I make sure that it's selected as rotational. You can already see the rotational symmetry count is on 2. You can see here there's 2 wall pieces. If I increase this to 12, I can make a circle just really easily like this. I've just with 1 click made a circle and it's so much easier than making this than doing them piece by piece here. Now if I want the circle to be bigger, I select the wall, and if I press X on my keyboard, I go to the enlargement tool, and I can make the circle larger or smaller by increasing the size of these. So if I want it smaller, I reduce the size and then bring the pieces back in together. So now I've got a smaller piece. But if I want to have the circle bigger, I increase the size and I just drag it out like so. Now I've got a bigger circle. So yeah, that's an easy way how to make circles. Alright, the next one is more of a tip on how to make more realistic terrain. I've made a whole video dedicated to terraforming and making realistic terrain, so check the top right corner here and follow the video if you want. But quickly I'll show you what I was meaning. If you place down rocks, let's say you want to create a mountain like I've done here, and you're sinking these rocks. These are all individual rocks, as you can see. If you want to make the terrain looking slightly better, you simply have the pool option, and then you fill in the gaps between the rocks with terrain, like I'm doing here. After that is done, you simply go and polish it a little bit, so you smooth it out so it's not looking like bulky. And when you've done too much, you remove a little bit, like so. Very simple, doesn't have to be precise. And then you go to the spray painting, and then you make sure that in this case it all turns to rock, because I have a rocky landscape. And this way I think the terrain looks a little bit more realistic, and you can stick in some plants in between if you want. Again, if you want to have a full video dedicated to making realistic terrain, check the top right corner and click on it, and there will be a nice video featuring Bughuul, and it will show you everything you need to know about making realistic terrain in Planet Coaster 2. Do you remember back in the day in Roller Coaster 2, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and 1, you can, if you see my mouse, you can hold it to the side and it would go and move your screen around. This is also an option in Planet Coaster that was introduced a couple of updates ago. Go to settings, go to mouse and keyboard settings, and then under edge scrolling, make sure that edge scrolling is on, and edge scrolling speed shows you the speed on which the edge scrolling is applied. Press apply, and now when I can do this, I can scroll around and look around my park just like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I definitely feel the nostalgia, which is really nice. So yeah, that's definitely an option, so go check it out if that's what you want. Right, here is another tip. This is about opening doors and roller coasters. Here I have a roller coaster which I want to go through this door before it goes on this chain lift. If I go to trigger sequence, I place down a trigger, and then when I edit and I've selected the door, when I do this and I test the roller coaster, it's really frustrating because the roller coaster goes, it opens the door as you can see here, but then it goes on the chain lift. Obviously the train slows down and the door closes and there's clipping. Very frustrating. There's a way to fix this. You can go to the same trigger, go to trigger sequence, go to edit. Now if you double click or if you click on the door, you can here select open door, and here you can increase the time for how long the door opens. In this case we want to have it open for 6 seconds. Now the door opens and it stays open for 6 seconds. Hopefully this is enough time. There we go. The coaster goes through, the door closes, and there's no clipping. Alright, the next part that we're going to talk about is how to pimp your Flatrides. As you can see, when you place down a Flatride, it comes with a massive square. And a lot of this stuff is all completely unnecessary. It doesn't look very nice, and when you look at the ride, the guests don't really even use it. They only use a section of the Flatride. So what I recommend to do is how to make your Flatrides look even better and integrate even more. You have the guest enter the ride, as you can see here, and then you're gonna follow how the guests, you see the guests walk a certain pathway towards the entrance of the ride, where they get on. They're not, in this case, not even using the top section. So what we're going to do, we're gonna create a queue, and we're gonna let people on the ride, and then we're gonna fence out where the guests walk so that we can theme around it. There we go. Now they stay all in between the fences, and also here they're only using this side of the ride. See, everything around here is not even being used. Somewhere here, and the same here. There we go. So now no one is walking through the fences. And I'll put some fences here. And this is about everything within the fences is the area that the guests will use. So that means everything outside the fences you can theme. And that means you can incorporate your ride so much better with the terrain, and I'll show you an example now. Here's an example of a flat ride that's nicely incorporated with the environment. As you can see here, the guests are coming off and they're walking in between the pathing here. I made this, put down these fences exactly on the pathing where the guests walk, and now you got guests coming in and they're not walking on any other areas except for where I fenced off. Hopping on the right here, in this case it's a monsoon chute. But everywhere outside the fences, guests don't walk, which means you can incorporate it with the terrain, which is what I've done here. If I look at the original blueprint, let me just close this. I'm gonna move it here. This is the original blueprint. You see that big square? That's just normally what you get when you place down a ride. Let me just make it even easier. This is the initial ride that you put down. But when you place it down and you fence it all off, it blends in so nicely with the environment and you don't even know that there's a Flatride here. So I highly recommend that. That's a tip from me. So let's go to the next one. The next tip that I'm going to show you is a tip that's gonna really save you time on clicking multiple buttons to get stuff done. For instance, here I see this terrain and I see it's not nicely polished. So what I do, I double click on the terrain and it brings open the terrain tool. Here I can do the flatten the surface so I can polish the terrain. But wait, here is another thing. Here I see an entry and an exit, and I don't like the way the entry and the exits are placed. What I can do, if I want to move the exit, I double click on the exit. And as you can see, I can move the exit around. I can move it wherever I want. It's the same for the entrance. There we go. If I double click on the entrance, I can move the entrance around. I can do the same thing for Flatrides. If I don't like the way where the entrance is, I simply double click on the entrance gate and I can move the entrance gate around. And it's the same for the exit. Also for buildings, let's say we've got this building here. If I double click on it, it selects the piece and you don't have to like click the building, select add building and then click the piece again. You can simply double click and it will select the piece. Another really handy thing that you can do with this method is you can, for instance, let's say I want to extend this pathing, but when I select the pathing and I start building from here, it's a completely different type and a completely different layout. Yeah, look, it has a different look to it. So what I can do is I can simply double click on the pathing that I want to adjust and it automatically selects the right pathing with the right settings so that it's exactly the same. So instead of going to customize brush and then having to like customize style, having to pick this right style with the right colors, I can simply double click on the pathing and then start building from there. This is one example. For instance, here I've got a different type of pathing to show you that it works. I'll double click on the pathing. Let's say I want to build a piece of pathing here. It's the exact same pathing that is selected. And that way you don't have to use the customized brush and change all your settings to be able to find the right look to your pathing. You can just continue from there. The next thing that I'm going to show you of something that you might not know you could do in Planet Coaster 2 is coaster cars. Let's jump into this coaster, for instance. If we click on it and we go to customize, we don't have any options here available. However, you can change the type of coaster car that you have on your track here. To be able to do that, you need to make sure that you've got the option selected in your settings. So press escape on your keyboard, go to settings, and then go to game options. And then here under coaster settings, allow interchangeable coaster cars. If you turn that on and you apply this, you can now click on your coaster, go to customize, and here by car type, you can change what type of car that you want to have on your coaster. For instance, I want to have the bike and sidecar coaster, which is really cool. You can do the same thing for wooden coasters. Here you've got all these different types of wooden coaster options. So if you build a coaster with a specific type, you can change the car to whatever terrain suits you. You can do the same for the multiverse coasters. Here you can select between two different ones. Both Automax, Multiverse, LSM and the friction wheel coaster. And you can do the same thing with these kind of sit-down coasters. There's a lot of options for here too. So there's all of these options. I'm not a coaster specialist, so I wouldn't know. And then you also have the ones for launch coasters and drive tire coasters. And there's lots for these ones. For instance, generally you cannot make a swaying mine train coaster that can be launched. But if you place down this dry tire coaster, you can here select swaying mine train coaster, and now you can build launched mine train coasters, which is really cool. So yeah, that's something that you could do and you might not knew about in Planet Coaster 2. The next thing that you saw about something that you might not knew about that you could do in Planet Coaster 2 is these new animatronics that came with the sorcery pack. I currently have them deactivated, so we're just gonna have them looping. Here we go, he's gonna cast some spell. And it's really cool, all the different options that you can do. But did you know that if you select the animatronic, you can select animation type? And here you can have all sorts of different types of animations. So here you got static. You can cast your just a simple wand cast. Casting high with a loop. There's an ambience, so that it just stands around and does random things. He can does a defense. There's 3 different types of ambient animations that you can do. There's all sorts of things. You can even make him get hit by a spell, which is pretty cool. And you can do the same for all these animations. They all have different types of things that they could do. So yeah, I didn't know if you knew that. I only found this out. I didn't really read through the patch notes. But now you know. Alright, this one is about mirroring. It's about decorating your coaster cars. You can decorate them all at the same time or individually. It's up to you what you want to do. But I'm just going to show you how it works, because you might not know that you could do this. You go click the coaster, click attach scenery, and now you can select any scenery that you want. This little holder here. I'm going to attach it to the side of the coaster, just making it a little bit smaller. There we go. Let's say I want to attach this piece to the side of the coaster. Now it's attached to the coaster. I place it down. And if I move it along, I can attach another piece here. And I can attach another piece here. And then I can attach another piece on the side, if that's what I want to do. Here you go. I just attached a couple of pieces to the side. And I individually place them. But this is now attached to one coaster. If I want to attach it to the other coaster, I have to do the whole thing again. But there is a shortcut for that. Let's go and again attach scenery. We're going to go to that same bracket. Here we go. Now if I go to here, advanced settings, and on the symmetry type I say mirrored. Now I am placing down one piece and it's attaching it to both sides of the train. That's pretty cool. That way it's always symmetrical. So that's an option. What I can also do, symmetry type rotational. Here I can increase the rotational, so now it's on all of the corners, so that's also an option. I want to have it mirrored, but if you go on twinning and you turn it on to twinned, this way it's attached to all the different coaster cars, as you can see. Now the other thing that you can do, obviously you can have twinning on, that way it's all twinned. You can symmetry could be mirrored. Let's say I want to have it mirrored. I click now here and now it's attached to this train, but let's say I want this train to be different. This train I want it to be on top. I can do that. But also if you want to apply the same color scheme or the same items to all the cars, you go to symmetry, apply to all trains, you select that on, and now when I apply to all trains, mirrored, twinned. Now if I place down an item, it applies it to all the coaster cars, as you can see. That way I can decorate all my coaster cars at the exact same time and they all look exactly the same thing. Alright, the next tip is about creating wavy water in swimming pools. Here you have normal water in a swimming pool. If you go to scenery and you click it, you type in wave, you can select the wave machines which you can install into the pool. And here you see the pool is starting to make waves. Really cool. But this is generally known that you could do that. However, if you then remove the pool, here we are removing the pool, the wave machines are still behind. Here they are. And now if I fill in the pool, if I fill in the area with some water, which is what I'll do now, and I'm just going to increase the drag these a little bit more to the surface so the waves are a bit more visible. Here you can see we're now creating waves in natural water. You can have these wave machines hidden underneath rocks or in the terrain, but you can have normal water wave around And it just gives a little bit more character to the water instead of it being, you know, plain looking. What you can also do, you can remove the water and install rough water instead. And that way it looks even a little bit nicer. So yeah, here you can see it starts getting that natural effect as well of having like creating waves in the water, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that might be something you didn't know you could do. Did you know that you could find objects that you're looking for based on the material that they have? For instance, if we go to scenery and we type here in tree, obviously all the trees will be popping up. But if I, for instance, I can also type in metal, and here I'm getting all metal objects that are available in the game. So if I'm looking for some kind of metal texture, I can find here a metal trident, a metal chest, a metal bus. That's a guest spawner. But also some other pieces, a metal footer, anything metal. Obviously we've got these items, they have some metal in them, as you can see on the side of the cogs. All these gears, and they all have metal in them. Everything, all the items here have some type of metal with them. You can also type in organic. Here we have all items that contain something organic, like candles, or coral, or bushes, or flowers, or dirt. This is all organic material. So yeah, another thing that you could do, for instance, you can type in wood. Now it is all items that come with some kind of wood. Even these little bushes, they have some little bits of wood on the inside. Not necessarily, but this might be considered wood. You got all sorts of items that are made from wood in here. So that's a really easy way to find out, to find particular items. What you can also do is you go to the scenery, like filters, and then you go to base material, and here you can find all the things that you can search for, like plastic, rope, rubber, slate, stone, straw, terracotta, wood, organic, concrete, all these different things. They will give you all the items that has that particular substance in it. So yeah. Alright, the next thing is about coaster settings. This might be something that you didn't know you could do. If I click the coaster here, I go to operations, and then at the bottom I can select operation mode. I can go standard, block sectioned, or lapping. Lapping means the coaster will go its full circle, and then it will pass straight through the station to go another round. Here you can select the amount of laps that the coaster does before the guests get out. And another thing that you can do, currently you've got one big coaster and you only have one coaster here that does a track. It's not very efficient, and it can't really transfer many guests. So what you could also do is you could select block sections, and now it pops up, trains pop up here, and I can increase the amount of trains. I can have up to 4 trains on this coaster here. Which is pretty cool, instead of just having one. And it just increases the capacity of your coaster, and you can just transfer more guests. And if you're working on park mode or challenge mode, you can make a lot more money, which is always nice. Right, the next thing that you can do that you might not know about is making sure that guests don't collide with your scenery. It's really easy to do. Let's say I want to place down a statue. So I'm just going to pick a statue. Let's say this is the statue I don't want guests to collide with. I would just place it down, obviously. Guests will walk straight through it because it's in the middle of the path. And we've got a big group of people coming in. So we gotta hurry up and make sure that we got all this stuff built. So make sure that the guests don't collide with this beautiful piece that we want to build here. So I'm just gonna put the statue away on the side. I'm going to grab out some pathing. Going to deleting tool, going to click the stamp tool, and I want to create this. Let's do a circle. It's pretty massive. Let's just do a square. It's pretty big, but that's okay. We're just going to delete a section here. Now the guests won't walk on it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just simply fill it in with some pathing, as you can see here. If I double click on this, which is from the tip before, I select the pieces that I want. Let's go and do this and do this. And now I can put the statue back in here. And then there's still a little bit more pathing to fill up. I can simply just build around the statue and make sure that the guest won't collide with it. Here we go. Now we created a little square, and there's no way that the guests will collide with it. They just simply walk around, as you can see, unless sometimes they get pushed in when it's busy. But that's a way to how to prevent guests from colliding with scenery. Just to show you one more example of how you can also do that, here I've got some hedges placed down, and I cut out a bit of the pathing here and a bit of the pathing here, so that the guests won't walk straight through the hedges when there's other guests chilling out here. So as you can see, they pretty much walk around. Sometimes they still slightly move into it, but nothing like walking straight through it. So yeah, that's also an option. Yeah, just an example. The next tip is something that you might not know you could do, is really easy undoing and redoing buttons to be able to quickly undo and redo what you just done. So here we just place down this statue, and if I hold Ctrl plus C on my keyboard, I can undo everything that I've just done, as you can see here. This is how I make my snap builds, by the way, so if you're keen on learning how to do that, now you know. Have you ever wanted to become one of the guests? You can do that by clicking on the guest, and then you go and click the camera mode, and now you're the guest, which is pretty funny. And this is how you can create some really cool looking footage as well, to be really among the guests. But if you want to become a guest without being operated by the guest, if you press T on your keyboard until you find this icon, a little guest with a camera, you can click on the pathing with left mouse button, and now you can walk around freely with W, A, S and D, and you are one of the guests. And it really allows you to capture some really cool scenery and some cinematics when you're doing recordings like I do. You can scroll with your mouse, you can zoom in and you can zoom out, and you can just simply walk around. Now if I do this on the bottom right, you can see all the options. You can jump, as you can see I'm jumping. You can run, you can crouch, I can use my torch, and I can interact with things as well, and I can go back to normal. So yeah, did you know you could change the color of your interface as well? You press escape, you go to settings, and then under under visual settings, here you can select a color of your screen. For instance, I've selected red now. When I apply, it's red. The bottom looks red, and when I press escape, my menu is red as well. And you can also change color blindness mode on and off, and these have different color palettes as well. So yeah, if you want to change the way that your menu looks, simply select the color and then apply, and there you have it. Another thing that you can also do is go to settings, go to visual settings again, and here you can change the interface scale. And it allows you to change the size of the text in case you struggle with reading the text. Here I've got the biggest text size. As you can see here, my menu is a lot bigger now. Everything is just a lot larger. I personally like it when it's a little bit smaller, so I have it generally on 80%. But you can also go even smaller by clicking 70%. And that way your interface is a lot smaller than normal. So that's also something that you can play around with in case you don't like it. I've landed on this desert island, and I really want to place down some cacti. However, if I'm going to do it all by hand, it's just gonna take a very long time. And it all looks even as well. It all looks the same when I place it down. So, did you know that you can make your own scenery brushes? If you click here, you go to customize. So you click the scenery brush, go to customize, and here you create a new scenery brush. We call this cacti. Then we're gonna add all the items that we want. Let's say we want to add all the cactus. So we're just gonna simply select all the different types of cacti that you can do. And then the other thing that you can do is, now we've selected a couple of cacti, you can click on this gear item. And here you can select random rotations to yaw and all. If you do yaw, it just spins clockwise and anti-clockwise. If you do all, it also means it can go upside down and change the different axes as well. So here you can select the minimum scale. You can have the tiniest plant all the way up to the biggest plants. And object spacing means how far away are each plants being placed. Now that we've done that, we're gonna click Save Changes. And if I now brush around, I'm placing down cactus. Let's say, for instance, I want to make another brush. So we're creating a new brush. This is just to fill in the background, for instance. But in this case, we are in space and we're looking for scrap metal. So we're just gonna call this scrap metal. And here we're going to click some sci-fi pieces that we want. Some cables and some legs. It's gonna be a mess. Some cargo crates and some what else? Claws and some panels. Now we've done that, we obviously can adjust all these things here as well. Let's say I want to have all of these being able to rotate. So they're all being able to be rotated. Then I'm gonna click Save Changes. I click Save Changes, and now I've got a scrap metal brush. So these are all the items that I've just selected. They come in different sizes, as you can see. Some are bigger, some are smaller. And you can also, there's so many things that you can add here. And obviously rotations can be changed. There's a lot of settings that you can do. Just play around with it. But yeah, if you want to create different scenery brushes, you can do. You can, for instance, also make lollies or candy or something, and then brush the floor with candy by just having the scenery brushes. So yeah, there's different variations, different things that you can do. And it's really, really cool, all the options that you can do. So yeah, play around with it and see if it works. The next thing is also something to do with Flatrides. If you have a Flatride, you place it down, you can put it to test mode or leave it closed, whatever you fancy. You can go to Customize, and here on the right sequence you can select what you want it to do. Currently it does a Soak Rider splash, which looks like this. I'm just gonna speed it up so you can see. So this is a Soak Rider splash. It just falls down and it splashes and it soaks the riders. But if you want the first one to be just something different, you can, for instance, have a bounce and splash. So now the bounce and splash is selected. The first time it goes up, it just bounces like so. It goes down and it comes back up, and it goes back down again, and it comes back up again, just slightly touching the water, which is really cool. That's something that you can do with this ride. You can do this with other rides as well. Let's say we select the Behemoth Swing. We're gonna place it down. We're gonna have the entrance and the exit. It doesn't really matter about pathing at the moment. We click the ride. We go to Customize, and here you can have all sorts of different options. We have loops, we have swings, we have stalls, we have reverse loops. You can add more steps in if you want. You can reset everything. So the options are really variable per flat ride depending on what you do. And that really allows you to customize your flat ride to what fits in your park. So yeah, that's something you might not know about that you could do in Planet Coaster 2. Alright, the next thing that you might not know you could do in Planet Coaster 2 is one of my favorites. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Some coasters in Planet Coaster 2 have restrictions, which means they can only be built a certain way. The water coaster, for instance, cannot go more than 60 degrees downwards, otherwise it becomes too steep for this roller coaster. When I make it go straight, I'm just gonna make it really unrealistic, but that's absolutely fine. It also means it can only go up 60 degrees. And it can only go down 60 degrees. We finished the roller coaster. When we test the roller coaster, this is kind of what it looks like. Coaster just goes up, very boring, there's not much to it, and it just goes down, really unrealistic, and it does its thing. Now, some people, including me, you can make these coasters a lot crazier. So we're just gonna break this down, going back to the top, and now you go to sandbox settings, and then you go to tracked ride settings. And here you have a button called Extended Track Limit. You select that and then you apply your changes. And what this allows you to do is you can now make crazy coasters. Coasters can now go whatever you want it to do. It can go upside down. Look at this. Oh my god. Crazy book. Book, what are you doing? This is not even realistic. It just allows you to do a lot of crazy stuff. You can still only bank 30 degrees. That's absolutely fine. And then when we go straight, we can, for instance, do something that we couldn't do before. We can now build loopings. I'm gonna quickly chuck one together. Bear with me. I know this is absolutely not realistic. I just want to show you guys that what the possibilities are when you turn off track limits, and it really allows for some crazy roller coaster designs. Also, for instance, you can make swinging mine train coasters go upside down, which is also really cool. We're just gonna finish this. There we go. And even just like small little section here you can do. Alright, let's test this coaster. Let's go and have a look and see what it does now. The coaster goes up and it does this super unrealistic thing. I was just going to show you what you can do with these unlimited coaster design restrictions. And we now have a looping water coaster and it does these crazy shapes. So it's really fun, all the options that you can do. You can make looping child coasters. So yeah, this might be something that you didn't know you could do in Planet Coaster 2. And last but not least, something really cool that I've not seen a lot. I do know some people know it exists, but you can customize animations and triggers and change their colors. And now you'll be like, Book, what do you mean exactly? Well, I'll show you. When I click this trigger sequencer and I press play, look at the color of the fish. They change to a different color, and that is really cool. And that's something you can do with a lot of different types of animations. So here I've set up something for you guys. We have a dragon that doesn't really like to eat his vegetables. So we're gonna make the dragon eat the vegetables and then see what happens. Oh no, he's getting sick. I think he has to throw up. Oh, here he goes. Ah, yuck. Oh, he's looking a lot better. Now you might be wondering, how does that even work? When you click on the sequencer, edit sequencer, here I have just the dragon eating. And this is the dragon normally, just the normal animation of the dragon. So you just select the sequencer, attach the dragon to it, and then that's the dragon playing. Now this one is the dragon changing color. So if you go to attach the dragon, or you duplicate it, you attach the dragon to the sequencer, and then normally it says play on trigger, you can change color on trigger and it will change the color. You can restore color if it has a different color, you wanted to color it back to its original color. But you can also do swap color on trigger. So it changes to one color and then later on changes to the next color. Here I have it play for 12 seconds, which means on the first second it turns green. In this case I've made all the colors green, but I can adjust the colors of the dragon here. And then it takes 1 second to go from red to green. and then 12 seconds later, it takes 1 second to turn from green back to red. And when you have it playing, all it looks like is just this. He's just gonna eat his vegetables. He doesn't like it. He changes to a green color. And after chomping a little bit, the dragon is like, oh, I don't really like this. He throws it back up. And as soon as he does that, his color comes back. So yeah, that's something that you didn't know you could do in Planet Coaster 2. And there you have it. That's 25 things that you might not know you could do in Planet Coaster 2. If you enjoyed the video, please click the subscribe button. We do a lot of building. We're currently building on this park, as you can see, highly detailed. If you like the video, please give it a like. And maybe leave a comment for me down below if there's anything that you didn't know, and tell me which one was the favorite and then which one was the one that you didn't know about that you now learned. So let me know down below what you think, and with that said, I'll see you all in the next video. Take care and have a good day. Alright, my name's Book. I'll see you later. Bye.